Hey everyone, Suri here, and welcome back to another week of late season offense matches. The CYL bonus weeks were a perfect chance to give Byleth and Tiki their debut on my offense teams, and they cleaned up the week pretty handily. This team uses Tiki as a solo carry, adding the recently released Distant Counter Seal to let her keep finish as her A slot. Her ability to shut down enemy specials before they attack is an extremely powerful tanking tool, letting her shrug off potentially lethal pre-charge setups. The extra charge she gives herself also lets her use higher cooldown specials like Soul, making it very easy for her to stay healthy through multiple combats. Her primary support here is Fallen Minion, who is a perfect match for most dragons. The breath effect combines nicely with Tiki's built-in acceleration, making it very difficult to stop her from retaliating with an instant Soul. Her naturally high health also makes her a great sudden panic user, and being a dragon also lets her use Goad and Ward dragons to offer Tiki a spectrum of combat bonuses. The guard she applies by dancing can also be very important, stopping Catria-enabled teams from sneaking a special past Tiki's in-combat pulse. The mythics on the team are here to support and enable Tiki from a distance. Asker is a great way to boost her stats, giving her another set of +4 on top of the flat mythic bonuses, while Air offers Tiki a cross-map bonus to her res, and some helpful sabotage support. Milla provides even more combat bonuses and isolation support, while Ashe covers mobility and carries an invaluable sabotage res. Byleth ended up taking most of the matches this week, though. The speed-based advantage that Preempt gives her is extremely powerful, especially when most teams don't use Hardy Bearing anymore. I added Unity to her base kit to let her take advantage of Bright Shrines and Menaces, making it very difficult to beat her in a speed check, and also significantly boosting her ability to one-shot opponents, which is important against Catria teams that might break past the damage reduction of Divine Pulse. Idunn is a great near-safe partner for Byleth since she really appreciates focusing on speed and res. The full null follow-up and damage reduction that Savvy Fighter provides makes it very difficult to break through her, and also easy for her to demolish her melee opponents. The mythics, again, are here to support. Ashe and Milla work really well to cripple the enemy's team's speed and res, while Ullr offers some extra flat speed and a full spectrum of visible buffs. Peony splits her support a bit between a Goad Flyers for Byleth and a Close Guard for Idunn, giving them both a nice boost to their combat stats. Now that we've gone over the teams, let's get to the first match. This match was a fun one early in the week. It's not really the most threatening setup since they've boxed 2 of their units away from the rest of the group, and using Sonya as the 7th unit here also means that she can't threaten any enemy tanks at the same time as the Yuri and Chrom. But they do have some fun investment across the board here, including an Impact Yuri and 2 Infantry Pulses to pre-charge his lethality and Note's Moonbow, along with giving Chrom his 1-charge Deadeye, the way he usually has from his time spells. The Quickened Pulse also gives Sonya access to an instant Blazing Wind, even if it's not as likely that she'll get to threaten someone with it immediately. But overall, this team can definitely catch people off guard if they look at it, see the split team members and no dancer, and dismiss it as a threat. We get into position on the first turn here, just moving Tiki in to start tanking, and setting Asker up to refresh her buffs for the following turn. And say go. Yuri moves in first, and while he does have a pre-charged lethality, it doesn't stay that way, which means he doesn't actually do any damage to Tiki before she turns around and one-shots him. The dagger debuff does mean that Chrom gets to move in and do a single point of damage to Tiki before he gets one-shotted too. And from there, the rest of the team can't catch us. So we just move Tiki back, let Minion refresh her breath buff, and move her back over into the same position. Air can move over and start working her way towards the top left, and then we just let Tiki say go. It moves in first. Sonya can't actually reach her from here, even with the super warp she has. And, well, the panicked Note is not going to have a good time with this. Sonya moves in next, and Can't actually do any damage with that pre-charged special. Or in combat.
Do not trouble me.
And while Ike does have a pretty solid amount of damage reduction to work with,
Out of the
it's
way.
not quite going to save him when he's getting hit this hard. Twice. And from here it's just a matter of picking up the Aether pots before we close out the match.
Death's caress.
It takes a couple of turns for us to get there, since one of them's all the way in the top right corner.
Which path to take?
But with Medius and Edelgard boxed in on their side of the map, it's not like they can do anything about it.
Like this.
A little bit of maneuvering actually lets us reach both pots this turn, by smiting and repositioning air to let her reach one,
Yes.
and then using the extra movement from
Very
Minion to let Tiki break the second Aether pot and tank
The
Medius this turn.
beckons.
Lord Asker guide us.
Having effective damage means that Tiki's never really going to have issues with Medius, especially not when he's getting his buffs panicked by Ninian. And she swats him down pretty easily.
Step by step.
And once he's down, the only thing that's left is to handle Edelgard.
Why?
So I just move Ninian forward and dance her,
Very
and
well.
then let her attack into Edelgard and close out the match.
Do not trouble me.
This was another fun match, later in the week, with their save Idunn, keeping their frontliners safe from any Gale Force approaches, and a pretty spooky maxed out Jamke in the backline. It's very easy to underestimate Jamke, and if you do, he can take down your far-save tanks very easily thanks to that Deadeye and his ability to hit twice before you can counterattack him. Using a Brave Byleth on their defense is also a fun touch, and they all have a lot more reach than you might expect from this closed-in setup thanks to the Dio Dogger on the front. It's a neat setup overall. Their panic matter isn't really upgraded too far though, so it's not hard for us to just plonk Idunn down below it, and dance Byleth into position to tank their ranged units.
Truly? Very well.
We could have attacked their Dogger here, but there was no real need to, especially since it means that Idunn gets to tank the Medius right away, and take him out of the picture.
To protect the world.
Isolating Triandra also means that she doesn't immediately dance Byleth, and their Idunn moves in next to take a shot at ours. But the Savvy Fighter is doing a lot of work here and means that she doesn't have any problems with
The world.
either of the opposing dragons. And from here, it's Byleth's turn.
Stay where you are.
Triandra doesn't get a chance to land a hit, which is about as good as the rest of her team is going to be able to do. Dogger moves in next, since she has the least amount of health to lose, and gets vantaged down as well. And then the enemy Byleth moves in, who doesn't actually have any debuffs applied,
Stay where
but
you are.
still doesn't have enough speed to handle this. And since she doesn't get a chance to use her Divine Pulse, she doesn't get to actually activate that damage reduction. Jamke moves last, and even with the lull,
Stay where you are.
isn't actually going to break through this. Which just leaves Eldigan and 2 Aether pots to pick up.
I'm going now.
And here it's just about navigating around Elfgun while we pick up those Aether pots, and Ash lets Byleth jump over the fortress to pick up our first
Good
one,
morning.
while also staying out of Elfgun's range. He does chase after Byleth here, which is a little annoying since it makes it harder for her to take him down after picking up this Aether pot,
Ready.
but it's not impossible. The dance means that Ash can jump over,
Good idea.
or Byleth can jump over Ash,
Have faith.
and move over to finish off Elfgun and close out the match. This match was a bit spicier near the end of the week, featuring a maxed out Hardy Fighter Deflect Magic Hector, keeping his team safe from any ranged nonsense, along with a Catry-enabled Folk and Brave Byleth to help shut down any tanking strategies. Using both a Dio Peony and Triandra means that it's pretty hard to shut this down with just a Milla, and Medius does a really good job of keeping any Kanto hit-and-run approaches under control. It's a pretty spooky team overall, but unfortunately for them they aren't using any hardy bearings,
It will be done.
which means that Byleth is not really going to have too much trouble with this.
Maybe this
We
way.
can just move into their
Very
attack
well.
range on the first turn,
Truly?
stop the Triandra specifically from dancing, and say go. Catry ends up going first since she actually gets to do damage to Idunn, which stops her from ever having a chance to use her triangle attack.
My heart.
It does mean that Peony gets to move over and dance Hector here, which would be a problem if any of her friends got to actually use the cross-spur attack from her weapon and the basic drag attack that they gave her in her C-slot. Triandra moves first again because she has the least amount of health to lose, and then we just continue down the health chain. Looks pretty spooky, but only if he actually gets a chance to land those attacks. And, well, the enemy Byleth is pretty handily outsped.
You go no further.
Sadly, we don't quite get to tank the Hector here, since Media's moved onto the defense tile instead of hopping past
Good
Peony,
idea. Ready.
which just means that we end up having to tank this for a second
go with
turn
conviction.
from just outside of Hector's attack range. Making sure that Hector stays alive here is important, since we do want to reach those Aether pots before the end of the match. And it's pretty easy for Idunn to just tank Medius,
I want to help.
and knock him out on the counterattack. And well, the Dio Peony isn't going to give Byleth any problems.
You go no further.
Which just leaves Hector on his own. It's easy enough to stay out of his range while we work our way towards these Aether
Good
pots.
morning.
We can pick one up this
I go
turn
with
and
conviction.
pick up the second one later.
What is it?
Lord Asker, guide us. Like this. I'm going now.
Unfortunately, I did goof a little here, and
It will be
forgot to
done.
actually leave Byleth in range of
It will
somebody
be done.
to activate her weapon into the
Good
null
idea.
follow-up effect for this turn. And
You go no further.
went a little bit too quickly here, and attacked into Hector expecting Byleth to take him out. But without null follow-up, he survives it pretty handily, and gets to counterattack her twice. Thankfully, Byleth's actually bulky enough to take those hits, since Hector's not using an offensive special,
I do not object.
and it means we
I
just
go
have
with
to wait one more
conviction.
turn to close out the match. And from here, it's easy enough for Byleth to attack into Hector and actually finish him off this time.
Stay where you are.
Using Sacred Cowl means that he does get to recharge it right away, but even getting 2 rounds of that damage reduction isn't enough to keep him alive here. This was a fun match to close out the week with. They've got another Catria set up, this one protected by a Fjorm, along with a Duocrom in the backline and a very impressive maxed out Flora on the front. The nearly pre-charged lethality lets her be a pretty similar threat to Chrom, and the lull and her natural bulk makes it actually really hard to knock her out on the counterattack, especially if she gets a chance to use those defense tiles. Plus 10 health is always fun to see too. But I do think this team has a bit of a problem with handling a blue tank, since Chrom and Flora can be shut down by one, and Corrin isn't able to actually contribute to this first round of combat, since they don't have a dancer to re-enable her on the first round.
It will be done.
So we just move in to let Byleth handle Flora and Chrom, while Idunn keeps her safe from the hell. Who moves in first, since she gets to do some damage, and has less health to lose.
I want to help.
This angle also prevents them from actually taking advantage of any triangle attacks. Not that it would really save the Chrom here.
Stay where you are.
And the Flora doesn't actually get a chance to survive this either. She actually could survive with 1 hit point here if she was using Mirror Impact instead. But even if she did, a single lethality hit would actually still get mitigated by Divine Pulse, and Byleth would have been able to survive it anyway.
Go where?
This turn was a little bit annoying, since I would have liked to keep Fjorm alive here and kite her around,
With the goddess.
since unarmor is a lot easier to handle than a 3-movement ranged cavalry. But unfortunately, with the Catria still in the mix, it's a lot harder to keep Fjorm away from our front line. So I decide to just take her down here through 2 ice mirrors, before having Byleth clear up Catria as well.
Good morning. Good idea. You go no further.
With Idunn in place here, it's actually very easy to keep our front line safe from Medius, while having Miller pick up our first Aether pot and getting ready to pick up the second one on the following turn. Medius is never going to give Idunn problems, even if he does get to attack her directly. And since we're just out of range of Corrin, they can't really get anything else done this turn.
My heart. Very
And
well.
here, Miller can just move forward and pick up our second Aether pot,
It will be done.
before we let Byleth move in and close out the week by taking down Corrin.
You go no further.
It was a fun week overall. The new CYL units are just a lot of fun to use, and I was also glad to be able to give Byleth and Tiki a rank 1 finish for their bonus week. I honestly wasn't expecting the defense to hold up anywhere near as well as it did, so it was great to see. I am planning to use them both again next week for their second bonus season, and I expect them to do pretty well over in Astra as well. I do have a Discord server if you'd like to hang out and chat or get updates on videos and schedules. There's a link in the description, and I've also got a Patreon link there too if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.